Today's podcast is brought to you by A&B Education, bringing intercultural education to talented students from around the world. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Fro Life Podcast. This episode we dive into a huge topic and try to determine what major would best fit when we decide to go to higher education. When you're trying to narrow down your decision, it's imperative that you realize the true purpose of going to college in the first place. We're trying to find a career that we can be passionate about in order to find a job doing something we absolutely love to do. I know that may seem like common sense, but too many students enroll in a program that leads them to high student debt with very few job prospects once they're finished. I don't want that to happen to any one of you. Today we're going to talk about my 5-step plan to determining a major. Alright, so step 1, first, ask yourself, which classes did you really enjoy in high school? Many times this can lead you to a field of interest. The field, it can include a plethora of choices, but it also allows you to eliminate the real fruitless searches that won't lead you to a dream job. For example, if I was an amazing biology, chemistry, and physics student, which I absolutely was not, science is not my thing, but I can reflect fondly on my time in science class. I may even remember looking forward to lab experiments. This may be an indicator that something in that field would be my passion. Well, what fields can I go into? There's a whole lot of opportunity in the world of science, and a lot of them are nowhere near connected. So just because you have a passion for a general topic doesn't always mean it leads you to a major, but it could give you some direction. If you're me and you absolutely can't stand science, you know to steer clear of anything science related. However, if science is your thing, you get up in the morning when you were in high school, and that was the class you look forward to. You wanted to dissect the frogs. You wanted to dissect the cat. Or maybe it's something where you wanted to perform experiments. You wanted to see, what happens when I, drop a hard-boiled egg into vinegar and all, whatever it was in high school that you did that you found to be interesting. If it was science-related, maybe that's where you start your search. So when your first step, take a look at what it was that you loved the most in high school. For me personally, I never got enough of going to history classes. I loved learning about, World War II, Civil War. The war stuff seems to always be popular with you guys. I don't know how that always happens. It's almost like it's a stereotype, but beyond that, the humanistic stories are there as well. The way Native and American cultures interacted with each other and timelines and who explored where, why, and how. Those things were attractive to me. So when I chose a college major, that's what I looked at. I looked at, do I really want to spend my time worrying about learning something that I couldn't care less about? No, I really don't want to do that. I want to do something that when I speak, somebody can tell from the way I'm speaking, from what I'm teaching, from what I'm doing, that I love it. When I'm in my classroom and I'm teaching a history lesson on the Holocaust, my students are in tears, not because they hate what I'm saying, because they can feel and sense my passion. That's the kind of profession I want you to have. So that's the first step. Second, you have to start to ask yourself what people do in that field, and make sure you ask that question with a broad range of ideas. Science incorporates a ton of areas. Do I want to be a doctor? Could I really be the guy who performs surgery? Do I really want to cut into flesh? Do I want to work with children? Maybe pets? Were those lab experiments really that exciting? If the answer is yes, then perhaps you'd be better suited for a laboratory technician. Do I want to teach others about science? Maybe I don't want to actually perform science anymore, but I love talking about it. Maybe I want to teach others. There really are a variety of fields that I could take your passion into, depending on what exactly it is that you think you would enjoy about that field. All right, and it's not just science. Mathematics. Do I want to stand in front of a bunch of students and explain to them how to calculate the most complex formulas in the world? Or do I want to be somebody who works for the government and I crunch the numbers for the government and come up with, calculations and computations to help solve crime or do whatever? If that's something you're into, that's what the kind of things we need to know when we're planning to determine what your major is going to be. Third, and this is the one where you really have to do a little bit of work. I recommend using the United States Bureau of Labor and Statistics information from their website, www.bls.gov, to see what you really are getting yourself into. They offer a wide range of useful career planning tools, including the wage data by occupation, occupational and wage estimates by state or region, employment projections, employment by major job sector, and the two areas I feel are the most important for our discussion is the fastest growing occupations and the occupations with the most job growth. Let's face it, if you're going to spend the kind of money that colleges and universities charge you for your education, then it's essential to understand if a job is going to be waiting for you when you get done. I'll use the choice of becoming a personal care aide. Right now, if you go to those resources I discussed, it's listed as the first occupation on the government list with a job growth rate of 25.9%, which is very much a positive sign. There's huge growth in becoming a personal care aide. On the list of fastest growing jobs, it's listed in the top 25. Unfortunately, the same site indicates that the median household income from going into this field is $20,980 a year. The reason this is so important is because even at an inexpensive school, you're going to spend thousands of dollars for your education. And you need a portion of that money that you're going to make in your career is going to have to pay those loans off. So your position, it's going to have to allow you to pay off those debts and live a comfortable life. According to the federal poverty level, 2015, a family of three, mother, father, one child, or whatever, is at the poverty line when their income is at $20,160. Do you really want to get into a profession that pays at or near the poverty line? Probably not. It may be the most rewarding job, but it may not provide you with a serviceable, livable life. When you look at wind turbine technicians, that's on the list too. They show the largest job growth with 108% job growth and a median income of $51,050. That would be a serviceable income coming out of college and allow you to live a little bit more comfortably. Fourth, now that we know the income projections and we can look up the job growth, it's now just as important to look at schools and universities that offer the area of specialty that we have narrowed our search down to. Some of the labor statistics provide a more general feel, but colleges vary as to how specific their majors are with regards to certain career paths. For example, you could go to college for psychology, but want to eventually be a college professor. Some colleges offer a psychology program. It's purely content-driven, while others are American Psychological Association certified and lead to a clinical practice requiring 1,000 hours of face-to-face interaction with clients. The Labor and Statistics lists psychologist as a profession, but it's a general term. If you want to earn north of $100,000 a year, then you're looking at becoming a clinical psychologist. If you're looking to be a professor, you'll make a little bit less money, but your program will have very different requirements. Both will require a doctorate degree, which means committing to a longer college experience, but to get a position you truly desire may be worth it. For this discussion, I'll assume I want to be a college professor in psychology, which isn't too much of a stretch. That's kind of one of the things I'd love to do. When I search for schools, I can seek a general psychology program. And if I want to plan ahead, I can look at an educational psych program or a research-based program, a PhD in general psychology rather than a clinical counseling or school psych program. If I find an institution that offers both the undergraduate four-year degree and the doctorate, that would be preferable. It is typically easier to gain entrance into a doctorate level program at the same place you got your undergraduate program from. So that's something to consider. Fifth, the potentially most important step in deciding your school is to determine if the tuition that you're about to pay will be covered by the financing you have available to you. Pretty much all new college students will get some degree of government-funded money. I've mentioned this in episode 1. In Pennsylvania, where I'm at, we have Pell and FIA. They're going to provide some assistance, but I encourage all the students I consult with to find the majority of their funding somewhere else. All right, we don't want to look at that at Pell and FIA as being the backbone of your college planning. In an undergraduate program, you can typically bank on subsidized and unsubsidized Stafford loans. Those are government loans. They'll cover the cost of most moderately priced undergraduate institutions. If you're looking at private schools, you have to know ahead of time what types of figures you're looking at. As for an alternative funding, many parents who are helping to fund their child's education, historically they take out home equity loans or lines of credit. Those have interest that's tax deductible and there's benefits to that, but there are other options that have become more of a commonplace. First, a lot of people are aware of 529 college savings plans. If you get those started at a young enough age, they can be a real help. Accounts are available through a plethora of financial institutions. They can be used for virtually any college costs you can think of, from room and board to a meal plan. You can even pay for books. But 529 plans are an amazing tool. But if you want the inside tidbit, if you can have a grandparent act as the custodian on the account, there are significant tax benefits. If you're not fortunate enough to have a 529 plan, there are various loans available to you, but you have to be careful what you apply for. First, federal Perkins loans. This is a loan category reserved for those in need of extreme financial assistance. If it's you, the Perkins loan is the perfect and most sought-after loan with an incredibly low interest rate. They defer your payments until after you finish your college program, and you see the government pay your interest payments for you while you're in school. That prevents your loan balance from increasing despite the fact that you're still taking classes. There's the Federal Direct Plus loan program. This allows a parent or a graduate student to borrow as much money as they need to cover the cost of the student's education, but it's not available to the student themselves unless they're at the graduate level. There are special programs for health professionals. They're available if you're entering the field of nursing, sports medicine, veterinary medicine, things like that, but these are localized to the medical field. If that's your area of specialty, they can be quite beneficial. If all else fails, there's no other options. There is an option for what many financial institutions call the Smart Option Student Loan. Despite the description, be careful with these loans as they allow you to borrow any amount of money you need, but there is a catch for some people. First, the positives. The loans give you a choice of enrollment payments that begin while you're either still taking classes. There's an interest-only payment option. There's a deferred payment option to hold off the repayment until you complete your program. This makes the Smart Option Student Loan a go-to product for most people. The concern that you may want to consider is related to certain professions. If you're planning on entering the government service, public service industry, or things like that, there are loan forgiveness programs that cannot be applied to private loans. If you're entering federal, state, local, or the education-related fields, you may be able to have a significant portion of your loan balances forgiven after certain criteria are met. If you're entering any of those types of fields, try to steer clear of the Smart Option Student Loan as it's not going to be forgiven. Instead, try securing funding from one of the other funding sources so that once you meet whatever requirements are necessary, your student loan debt can be wiped away. Once we address the financing, we're ready to begin the application process. But that's a topic for another day. That's all the time we have for this episode, but check back with us in episode 3, where we use the various tools at your disposal to finalize your application list and start the process of applying for schools. Special thanks go out to bensound.com, purpleplanet.com, and Monk Turner for producing all of our music and sound effects used throughout today's show. Today's podcast was sponsored in part by FastWeb. Search the FastWeb database and help your student access scholarships and financial aid information with the FastWeb free and easy-to-use scholarship and search engine. Investigate the college of your dreams with the FastWeb College Profile Search Engine. Let FastWeb be your guide to higher education. To the U.S. News and World Report Best Colleges 2017, available at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble right now. To Fofi Metal Detectors Plus, whether you're the casual hunter, the energetic beachcomber, or the underwater enthusiast, Fofi detectors have solutions for all your metal detector needs. To A&B Education of Lansdale, bringing intercultural education to talented students from around the world. We want to thank you for listening to today's podcast, and we encourage you to go to our website at www.frolifeplanning.com to learn more about what Mr. Fro can do for you. This month, all Fro Life podcast listeners get a free phone interview to go over your college planning preparation. And if you sign up for one of our monthly plans, you receive 25% off all planning sessions throughout your undergraduate program. Remember, Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, it's for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro, and I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today, and we look forward to sending out more tips and tricks to finding your way through higher education soon. Until then, keep the focus on not just moving up, but moving higher in education.